We tried to move anywhere but LaGrange. We were in South Florida, and we said one day, listen, we're gonna move by the end of the year, or we're gonna stay here for 4 more years. We went to Arizona and almost bought a business out there. We went to North Carolina and almost got into building up there. We looked at another place in Georgia. We were going all over the place. And every time we kind of come through this area, we had some friends that lived in here, so we would stop and see them, and we'd just, nah, this ain't the place, this ain't the place. And then a big deal we thought we had worked out fell through. I just said, I don't know what I'm gonna do now, guy, what do you want me to do? And the phone rings, it was almost like that fast, and it was the boss of my friend who lived here, knew I had some construction background, said, hey, I need an estimator, would you be interested in the job? Okay, I can take a hint, and that's the rest. We moved here. We moved here in November of 2005. All the houses we had up to that point were like old derelict houses I bought, and then in my spare time I would remodel them. When I got them just right, we would resell them. When we moved up here, my wife says, okay honey, I'm tired of living in your construction zones. If you want a house to work on, go buy your own. So we bought our house that we lived in, and then I bought a mill house to remodel. My plan was to work a job and remodel houses on the side of my own and then flip them. Well, the housing market went crashing, right? And the company I was working for kind of got to where I couldn't work there anymore. So to do work, I started doing some side work. That, of course, grew up to a nice little remodeling business of my own. I had a little shop over on Vernon Street, right by the railroad tracks there. And what used to be Palmer's Grocery right there on the corner, that's where I was at. That lasted for a while, and then the banking crash came along. So I quit that and got a job. And I got offered 2 jobs on the same day. I got an offer to go to work for Kia, and I got offered a job at the city as a code enforcement officer. I took the job at the city. I worked there for, it was a couple months, and one day something happened there that I kind of helped somebody catch a DUI driver that I happened to spot when I was out and around. And I thought, wow, I wonder how much the police officers make. And I wonder what it takes to be one. So I went in and talked to my boss, who at that time was Lieutenant Costal, and said, how about if I want to be a police officer? He went, yeah, you can go to the academy. I was kind of like, oh man, I'm going to lose me a good employee to the police, right? So I went to they put me through the academy, hired me, worked there for right at 4 years. And that jumps to my love of cycling. So I'd always been a bit of a cyclist. The people who owned Golden's at the time, wasn't owned by Bill Golden anymore. They had bought it from Bill, and they wanted out. And they were friends of mine, and we got talking, and they made me an offer, and I moved in here as one of the partners and eventually bought my partners out, and I left the police department and started working here. So we actually just kind of have made exercise a part of our life. It's always been a pretty much early in the day thing. We picked up cycling over 20 years ago. We started cycling together 1998, I think it was. I started with a bike. It was in the trash. I literally found it laying in the trash. And I started riding it to work. And then one day I found another bike. And I took it home and I did like I did the other one. And I fixed it up, got it ready to ride. And Diana comes out in the garage while I'm working on it. She looks at it, she goes, gee, you think I could ride that? That started us riding, and she would ride to work with me on Saturday. A lot of times I'd go in for like an hour or so, 2 hours on Saturday. One day I came out after work, she said the most sweetest thing she said to me in near 40 years. Honey, do we need to ride straight home? And we've been riding together ever since. We've been all over the place. As the story goes, I'm one of the original 6, and that means that as this thing started to flush out as a plan, that we're kind of where we were going. Obviously I was very involved. I would go check out some of the areas we were talking about riding and different paths. And being a cyclist, I got around to a lot of other trails. I'm very familiar with the Silver Comet, and I'd been to Carrollton and Nirnu Trail, and I'd been to the Swamp Rabbit, and I've been to several on the other state, and there's tons of them in Florida that I've ridden, so I was familiar with trails. I am a big believer in traveling by bike, especially in smaller urban areas, like this here. And it's also a way to connect other communities. The thread itself, hence its name, was to literally thread the community together. We wanted to be able to travel around and let anybody, anywhere get out and get on the thread and be able to travel someplace to another part of the community, to shopping, to school, we wanted to use it as transportation, but it would actually literally let anybody in the community get on it and go. We had basically gone from 0 to 11 miles of trail. I thought, wow, that's an incredible achievement. You know, I can leave here right now. I can go all the way over to Burrs Weatherby on a bike without getting on the road. I go local grounds and get a cup of coffee and never get on the highway. I mean, that just to me is moving. It's just moving. Oh. I'm Rick Brock, and I'm the story of LaGrange.